you can get a death certificate or a birth certificate at the local level, village clerk, or in counties like Monroe from the county health department. But when you do that, you usually get a or an extract, actually. You get a form that's been typed in with the information. The state health department, it will take you longer and probably cost you more, but what you do get is a print, I think it's a microfilm print, of the actual document filed at the time of death. I've turned it on its side because the important information is on this side. What it indicates in terms of finding the town of his origin is that it gives his death and age, born in Germany. Well, it doesn't really add anything, does it? But it does confirm that his father was John Graff and his mother was Charlotte. So it didn't add any information, but it sort of confirmed what I already knew. The prior lecture was about naturalization records, so you know already a lot about that. This was Jacob Graff's, I think it was his first papers in 1847. And this was a rather good one. You know, Greg talked about some being better and some being not so good. Well, this is a pretty good one. It did say that he was born in the Kingdom of Bavaria and gave a birth date, and that he arrived in the U.S. on August 8th, 1839. So, notice one important thing there. I mean, it says Kingdom of Bavaria, so instead of Germany, the whole country, what has become the country of Germany, we are now at least limited to an area in the southern part called the Kingdom of Bavaria. I also mentioned census as a place where you want to look for clues. This summarizes what I found about Jacob Graff in the censuses from 1850 through 1900. You notice that he was living originally in Niagara County, but by 1860 had moved to the town of Amherst. Actually, the 1900 is an anomaly. He happened to be visiting one of his children and was enumerated there in Michigan in 1900, but he was still living in the town of Amherst. I really, really like the 1900 census. Have most of you had occasion to use that? I see a few nodding heads. Yeah, it's a great census because, among other things, it gives you both the month and the year of birth, and it gives you year of immigration, plus lots of other good information, too. So again, we didn't really add a whole lot here to our knowledge, but again, it sort of reinforces that Bavaria is the place that I need to look, right? Some of you with sharp eyes probably saw that in 1850 his place of birth was listed as Pennsylvania. Well, this happens a lot with census records. You'll find inconsistencies, inaccuracies, and what you have to do is get them all and put them all together and see what seems. I think the reason that it's Pennsylvania is that his wife was born in Pennsylvania. So probably the census enumerator just got it wrong, or he was told wrong, perhaps, and somehow it got recorded that Jacob was born in Pennsylvania. And, well, the ages too. Some of them talked about the ages. Yeah, you can't believe the age that you'll find in any particular census. You have to put them all together and see what seems to make the most sense. You'll find a lot of inconsistencies with age. Well, I said that you want to look for obituaries. So I did find an obituary for Jacob Graff in the daily newspaper in Lockport, New York. I almost missed it because I was intrigued by this wonderful headline. Hookers celebrate their 40th anniversary. I grew up near Lockport and I began to wonder what kind of a town it was. I never knew anything about that. But it turns out that at least in 1903, the firemen who belonged to hook and ladder companies were often called hookers. So that's why the headline. So his obituary is down here in the corner, not very long, but in 1903 didn't always find obituaries, so I was happy to find it. It told me a lot of information I already knew by this point, but told me one interesting new fact, and that was that the funeral was held at the Wendellville Church. I had been looking for years to try to find the church that he attended. And I had assumed all that time that he attended a church in Erie County. He lived in the town of Amherst in Erie County. And I looked at several Protestant churches there, thinking that I would find his records there. Well, it turns out that he attended a church in the next county. Wendellville is in the southern part of Pendleton, town of Pendleton in Monroe County. And it turns out it's just across the Erie Canal from the town of Amherst. If I'd been smarter, would have thought of looking at that church earlier. And there's also a bridge in Wendellville, so it's very easy to get from town of Amherst. So I made an appointment with the church secretary. That's the only way to see these church records. They have not been digitized. They have not been microfilmed. They haven't even been copied for archival purposes. So when you go to the church, you look at the original registers, and that's the only way to do it. Well, both good news and bad news. The good news was that there was a burial record for Jacob Graff in 1903, but unfortunately, it didn't give me his town of birth like I had hoped. But does everybody have these moments once in a while in their research? You know, while I was there at the church, I decided to browse. You know, all good genealogists browse, right? And I had several other families that attended that church, so I had a lot of things I was looking for. But one of the things I found was a burial record for John, or Johannes Graff, his brother. And I had known from other records that he had a brother, John. I didn't know much about him. But here you have a record in German of the burial of John Graff in 1886, and it mentions a town. Finally, you know, Lamsheim, the Palatinate. So, you can imagine how happy I was. And I headed off. I headed off to the library to start doing research about Lamsheim. But at the same time, I was also still looking for other records about the Graff family. You know how it rains? You know when it rains, it pours when it comes to genealogy. You know, you search for years for something, and then you find it once, and then you find it again. Well, that's what happened. I found another obituary of Jacob Graff in a weekly newspaper published in the town of Amherst in Williamsville. And this actually was a much more detailed obituary. And what did it say? It said, the subject of this sketch was born in Lamsheim, Bavaria, May 20th, 1817. So, again,